Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another podcast of Conquer with Chris. I'm your host, Chris Collier. Today, I have Sarah Lindsey. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us a little about yourself, Sarah. What do you do? How do you do it?
Yeah, I guess categorize myself as a social media strategist and marketer, but I kind of do a little bit of everything in the marketing realm. And for personal hobbies, I really like to bake, and I have a bakery business. Um, and I also do silk aerial like the circus people, but I'm not nearly as good. But those are just kind of the side notes about me. The main thing is social media management and marketing.
So how did you get into that, Sarah? Let's learn a little bit about
Yeah.
how you got into social media marketing.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of the anomaly a little bit for a lot of people that go, through high school and they go to college and they just go in kind of thinking they want to do something and then they change it. For me, it was not that way. I went in to college knowing I wanted to do marketing. I never changed it the entire time. Was in and out 4 years and just got straight into the corporate kind of 9 to 5 world doing a job in marketing. I've always had an interest for it. So that was just easy for me. I've always liked it. And I've always kind of done like little side kind of helping family and friends and small businesses like near my college, just in my off time. And so after my corporate experience, I decided to transition fully into doing just the marketing for myself. And then that way I was able to kind of control the value that I was giving out. Um, that's kind of the main story. But I guess the origin story goes even further back when I was like in third grade with an entrepreneurial spirit of making hair wraps and having permission slips for fellow third graders to go home and get signed by their parents. So it's just always been kind of in me. And I decided I'm ambitious enough to just make it a career.
That's interesting. So how do you make that transition from corporate to personal to helping other people?
Yeah, that's where it's like the kind of like the villain story, right? My corporate experience was miserable. Like I wanted to like it so much. That was kind of my goal. I kind of grew up with the dream of, that white picket fence where you're going from, high school to college and then a corporate job and then you get married, have kids and happily ever after. That was kind of my vision. And I got lucky with my first kind of like corporate 9 to 5 job. I wasn't even looking for it. It just kind of fell into my lap. I was trying to find just like something quick in between graduation from college and a delayed study abroad trip that was 5 weeks in Italy, and COVID kind of pushed that back. So I was like, what kind of company is going to hire me in like 5 weeks before I leave again? And yeah, I was looking for like a bev card job, and they were like, we don't have those, but we have a salary job you can have if you want that. I was like, okay, sure. They were wonderful. It was just a little small for me, like fresh out of college. I felt like I wanted a little bit more professional experience, like working on teams and getting used to, the industry standard softwares and whatnot. And so, well, I loved that job mostly. I gave it like, an 8 out of 10 on the scale. Like, of course, it wasn't perfect. No job is, but it was pretty great. I left and went to a different, more corporate type of company. It was still smaller, but it was definitely bigger than where I was at. And I kind of had a team, and that was just an absolute nightmare. There were red flags from the beginning that I was too inexperienced to recognize. So really, it just was with my manager. Me and her, I guess, just didn't get along. She wasn't I don't know if she was not a fan of me the whole time, but towards the end, it became a very toxic, manipulative, just awful working experience. And I learned the horrors of 9 to 5 very quick. So
Wow. So let me ask you this. Is it harder working for yourself or someone else?
I think the grass isn't always greener. I think that's really what it comes down to. It's kind of how you define how hard is something, and kind of a little bit more so about like what are you more willing to put up with, and what are you more willing to endure. Um, I was coming home from, I mean, I worked remote. My job was remote except for a few times in the office, but I was coming home from work every day crying, working at that last job. Um, and it made me feel like a child and immature and inexperienced. And I think that was kind of the whole point she was trying to kind of push on me, was that I was new to the space. I didn't know any better. And she kind of knew all and never valued any of my thoughts or my opinions. And nothing I did was right. Would like make fun of me in group, like in group settings, and roll her eyes at me. And I think that was kind of like the whole intent. And so I'd come home feeling horrible. I'm like, I would think, oh, I'm a grown adult. I've graduated college and I'm crying about my job. Like, this is ridiculous. I grow up, right? Telling myself that. And no, it's like that was like actually what I was being made to feel at my job. And this job, working for yourself, you're battling yourself constantly, but having a great support system, of course, helps. I know not everybody has that. I'm very, very, very blessed to have a wonderful support system. But even then, even with it, you're just always going to be fighting within yourself. And so it's just navigating yourself and your mind. And that's what makes it a little bit different. But I think it's better that way because it's good to work on like self growth regardless, like in your personal life versus professional. And so I think working for yourself, you get to kind of tackle both at the same time. And I've definitely grown a lot, but
You go home
I'd
crying
rather.
now?
No, I don't go home crying now. No, actually, now that I think about it, I can't remember the last time I like broke down and cried about my job in the same way that I did in the corporate world. So
The pressure is a
yeah,
little bit different when you work
it
for
is.
yourself.
It is a little bit
Like you
different.
said, you fight yourself, and the
Yeah.
person that, how do I say this? The lesser person in you that
Yeah.
wants to take over and wants to worry about money or clients, or you're
Hmm.
not good enough, you're not fast enough,
Yep.
you're not strong enough. But the greater
Yep.
person in you says, I'm more than enough. I can handle this. I will make the
Yeah.
money. I will have the clients.
Figure it out and do it right. And I think for a while when I first started like actively pursuing this, I kind of followed along with like an agency coaching program online and tried to kind of do it myself. But I'd never, I mean, I had built a business before. I had built a bakery business. But building a bakery business is very different than trying to build a marketing type of business, and like the back end logistics and softwares and things you need to do and the steps in the process and lead gen and mostly sales. Sales have always terrified me. I've never been a fan of sales. So I tried learning it on my own and I just like wasn't really making any like strides in the way that I thought. And I really just said, screw it, I'm going to invest in this program. And so I invested in this coaching program and it was great. It gave me community, and while it may have been a significant amount of money that I don't know was quite worth it, it ended up paying for itself. So it all broke even, and I grew a lot more than I would have without them. But even ending my time at that program, the headspace I was in was still not a great headspace. I still beat myself down all the time and was always worrying about like, when am I going to get clients? Why am I not getting clients? What am I doing wrong? Like how can I make it better? How can I fix it? How can I give good client service without people pleasing, and just always questioning myself. And eventually just really just like surrendered that up and was just like, I can't keep focusing on it anymore. Like if it's meant to be, it'll be. If it's in the plan, it's in the plan. And the only way it doesn't work at this point is if I stop trying. And that kind of mindset shift helped a lot from building to actually having, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a couple things I'd like to unpack there.
Yeah.
I have a guy I listen to on YouTube. Shout out to
Hmm.
Myron Golden. Myron says, all work works. Either works on
Yeah.
you or it works for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Exactly. That's a great
it's
way to
a,
put it.
you got to do the work to work on yourself.
Hmm.
If you work on your business, quote Jim Rohn, he said, you work on your business,
Yeah.
you'll make money. If you work on yourself, you could make a fortune,
Yeah.
because people pay for, the four pillars of any business, especially in marketing, is to
Yeah.
overcome the like, know, and trust factors and have value. You got to have
Yeah.
value because, like, I used to say just like, know, and trust, but I just recently came across someone told me you got to have value because they could like you, know you, and trust you, but if you're not giving them any value, they're not going to buy anything from you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so how do you go from that place? Is there a book or was there a moment? Was there something other than the coaching program? We'll get back to that in a minute. Was there a book you read, something, a mantra that hit you, a quote that did something that caused you to change from being
Yeah.
insecure, not wanting to do sales to embracing that?
I think that this is going to be quite a lot to unpack. But I wouldn't say there was the specific moment was what transitioned my like dislike for sales or made me accept it. It was just kind of like you were saying, work's going to work whether it works on you or works for you. This was one of those moments where it was just kind of shifting all around my perspectives about everything. I was trying to do too much. I was trying to run the marketing business. I was trying to run the bakery business, and I was taking wedding cake orders and custom orders, and I'm trying to get on all these calls, and I'm trying to do client work. And I was just quite literally running up and down the stairs all day long, trying to do all this work. And I, when you try to do too much, you forget things. And I had forgotten something, and I had to do a last minute custom order. I had to drive like 45 minutes to go pick it up for a topper for a cake. And it was for a wedding order the next day. And I left, I came home, I finished what I was baking and left, and I was like right on time. Everything was going great. Except I came home and I was like, I don't know if this is finished cooking. Let me try and put it back in the oven, which by the way, that's not how that works. if you've taken it out of the oven and let it sit for 10 minutes, it's done. Like that's either it is what it is, or you got to start over. But I was just like, let me try it. And it was a cheesecake. And in putting that back in the oven, I misplaced the oven mitt and ended up putting an oven mitt on a hot eye, and it almost caught fire. And I slung it off, and it slung molten plastic all over my arm and my hands and my body.
Ouch.
Thank God my boyfriend was home. He was working remote that day. I ended up him rushing me to the hospital, and ended up being in the hospital for about 5 days for them to do surgery and debridement and put some skin grafts on there. And that was really what it was. I was sitting in the hospital, and my boyfriend was sitting there with me. Great sport. Man got no sleep. And he said something about, like, he was like, well, this God's sign letting you know you're doing too much. And it just kind of like hit me like a freight train. I was like, wow, no joke. Wow, he, no joke, literally punished me and pulled me out of the game, put me in the box for 5 days or so, or, longer. Told me I couldn't bake, I couldn't work, all because like I didn't slow down. I didn't listen to all the other signs before that, the red flags and things like that. And so that was kind of the moment for me. That was like what shifted in my perception. It was just like, okay, I need to slow down. I can't do all of it. I'm not meant to do all of it. What's meant to be is going to be. And so that was really the shift for me. And that shifted my personal life with my relationship. That shifted my personal life with family. That shifted my business with my faith, and just everything, because it was just very eye-opening that something as simple as putting a cheesecake in the oven can put you in the hospital and traumatize you. So that was really what it was. I know that's a lot to unpack, but and I know not everybody's going to have that kind of situation that's going to hit them like a freight train, but I did.
Sometimes it's a physical thing like you went through.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's just staring at your bank account and knowing you don't have you don't have the clients, you don't have the money coming in, and making a decision. So you made the decision, and so how did you embrace the sales mindset? Because I've come to find out that people are scared of sales. Like, public speaking. People want, this is true. People want to buy, they don't want to be sold.
Exactly. And that's what is so tricky about it with sales. And I've come, again, like I actually just celebrated today or yesterday, I think it might have been today, is my 2 years on the marketing business. I've been getting notifications on LinkedIn. So within those 2 years, thank you. I've changed so much in sales, and it's going to be one of those things, and I'm sure many people have said it before. You're going to get told no, and you're going to get told no over and over again. You're going to, every now and then, you're going to get those really rude people that have nothing else better going on in their lives to just be rude and hateful, and you just need to give them grace and know, and it's never going to be about you. It's never about you. If someone ever responds to a cold outreach, or your follow up after follow up after follow up with something rude, it's not about you, because it takes 5 seconds out of their day to just be like, hey, I'm not interested. Thank you though. And just move on about their day. But they're going out of their way to be rude, and that's on them. They're having a bad day, and you're unfortunately the punching bag for that moment. So
What I've
that's what's
learned,
going to be the hardest thing. Yeah.
what I've learned in 20 years in the hospitality industry is typically, some guy walks into your restaurant or your hotel
Hmm.
and starts yelling at you. His wife just yelled at him on the phone. His boss just told him he's getting a pay cut. Whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, got a bad haircut. Um, whatever the case may be, bought some clothes that thought were great, and but when he got them on or she got them on, didn't fit right.
Yeah.
Didn't give him the. So usually it's something else in their life. It's not you usually. So you can't,
Yeah.
like you said, you can't take it personally. But
Yeah.
going back to the coaching program, I want to touch on that
Hmm.
for because
Yeah.
I heard you say something. You said something without saying it. I heard in between the lines of the script that you that you said, or the lines that you shared. You said
Yeah.
the community was great, even though you thought you overpaid for the coaching. So I heard something yesterday that says
Hmm.
it got 10 times more results when there's a community than
Yeah.
when there wasn't. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
the community played a role in paving the path to
Exactly.
your growing, right? So
And that's such an interesting point that you make, because like I told you before we started, it's that coaching program is going to tile back in at the end of this. And I think I think everybody has a different experience in the program that I was in. I think my experience was very different from some of my friends that I was able to make through this community aspect. And I am so, so, so thankful and grateful that that program brought me these friends. It's so difficult as an adult to find friends. I mean, I'm not friends with any of them in person. Like, one of them is my absolute best friend. She does, again, they all do some similar things to me, and she lives a state over. But it honestly shocks me sometimes that I've never met her in person, because we are so close. Like, I forget it that we've never met in person. But so the community, yeah, it was great. And when it comes to value, people, like you were saying earlier, like, people value things differently. I made such good friends with some of these other people that the promise of ROI that the program offers and shares about, I was able to see the flaws in the program, but I was also able to appreciate the positives and appreciate my experience and the value that I was getting out of it. And that feels like a very lonely thing to go through with this program, because I had made such good friends, but that I had a different experience. And personally, for me, it ended up paying off. It ended up giving me the ROI over time. But for all of my other friends, I know for a fact none of them saw this promise of ROI that was discussed. So I was
mm,
able to see the the issues that they were having with the same, they paid the same amount as me, right? And then again, like with the community, I was able to see other people in the program also see that ROI, and it pay itself off. So it's like a 50-50 thing. Like, I would never probably pay that amount again, just because I don't feel like I need to pay that kind of amount of money for where I'm at now and what I've learned. But I am very grateful that it got me where I am, and the connections I made through it. And I still keep in touch with one of the coaches from that program. I love her. She is amazing. I wish, and I'm just keep it praying for whenever they open up just one-on-one consulting, because I'll book calls with her just to catch up, because she's great. So,
yeah.
um,
It's funny you said that. It's funny you said that, Sarah. I want to touch on something I've always learned.
yeah.
Um, just as I do coaching and consulting with people
Mhm.
from time to time, I've learned that there's a ladder, and what
Yeah.
coaching, whatever level you paid, I don't know. It's really not my business. But I found out there's always
Yeah.
another level of coaching to get. Right? There's always something
Yeah.
greater, something new to learn. And no matter how much money I got coming in, I always told my wife, I told her one day, I'll pay $100,000 for coaching. She said, "You will not. That's too much money." I'm like, babe, I don't think you understand. hundred
Yeah.
thousand dollars is the foundation to a million. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing is, like, you can't think like that, because when you make $30,000 a year, yeah, you're not thinking you're
Mhm.
gonna pay $100,000 for coaching. You might
Yeah.
struggle to pay 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever the case may be. But the thing is you've got to see and take action on what's given, because
Mhm.
if that person is just ahead of you, so if they're making if you're working a job and at 30,000, they're making 30,000 in their own business at home. It's worth the $5,000 because at least then you can hopefully
Yeah.
make $15,000 part time and
Yeah.
make that transition. So
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because there's always growth to be had.
Yeah. And there's always going to be somebody that knows more. And it's, again, it's the value. It's that building the trust, building that connection, and showing that value. And I think with those kind of coaching programs, it's difficult to do, right? Because I mean, we saw the receipts before we joined of like this person's success, but we weren't seeing the metric of, oh, it's about a 50-50 on who actually makes the ROI and who struggles kind of thing. Like, for example, like a few of my friends who didn't see that ROI, but I did, and I was able to see it through other people kind of situation. So, but I do like the mindset that it's, $100,000 course is on the way to being a millionaire. That is a good mindset to have. And I actually just did a piece of content about that with a client yesterday about, making a video about like what it's like starting out versus where you are now and how it's important to have kind of the big business mindset before you're a big business and the importance that it can make. And that's going to come a lot with, like we were saying, with, battling that self-doubt and that little person in you that's always fighting you and always trying to. Well, I had one person from that program. Her name was Carrie. I love her. She was phenomenal. And she was our mindset coach. She always called them stories. They're just stories in yourself. And she'd have us do exercises where we would like sit down, close our eyes, and like become schizophrenic and talk to that person in our head and kind of reassure it like, hey, no, I'm okay. We don't need to worry about this because we have this happening. And it's like a really good way to deal with anxiety or quick, like very sudden overwhelm, and kind of shutting it down and just almost nurturing each of those emotions like they're their own person, their own thing. That way they don't feel invalidated or forgotten or pushed to the back burner, because all those emotions are really just trying to do is protect you. And you just need to remind those emotions that you don't need protecting, things are okay, and that you in the present can handle this.
I think
And I think that was a big helpful thing.
I think you might want to take and be careful because Disney might be coming
Yeah.
after you for Inside Out.
I love that movie. Inside Out is so good. It is such
But
a beautiful representation.
I think sometimes that we forget that
Yeah.
if the coach or trainer is doing everything they can with the group of trainers or coaches they have, that
It's the accountability.
sometimes it's not the coaches and trainers, sometimes it's the people. Because sometimes it's just the way the content's set up too. I will say this.
Yeah.
If you're doing video after video after video, there's only so much. You gotta have like some live, you gotta have some just like this kind of type of interaction, because at the end of the day is the videos the best other than live, other than in person. But before you go in person, the webinar or a live video chat is the best way, even as in a group setting, because at the end of the day, is you got to get to
Connect
interact with people,
them.
because something about that touch, something about that, just a few minutes of their time can transform. I also happen to be a pastor, so I'll take this from the Christian world. Some things are not taught, they're caught.
Interesting. That's a good perspective.
Just being around me and feeling my energy, feeling my being in your presence, even on this call, even on this recording for this podcast, you can feel things emanating from me because we are electrical beings. You can feel things, and sometimes you'll catch what I'm teaching, but then you'll catch the way to implement it just by being around, because the vibration, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, is affecting you in a way. So sometimes not having that interaction, or maybe you're playing with the little me, someone's playing with little me, and when that energy comes, they reject the trainer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a constant battle. And like, I agree with what you said with accountability. It really is an accountability thing. And again, this is no shade to that program. I think the program was great. It worked well for me. I think they had all those facets where they had different types of learning styles. They tried with their coaches to work with each person's learning style in the best way possible. So they had that live feature, they had the recorded trainings, they had different like physical things that you could download and like work through and stuff. So they had a lot of great resources, but yeah, it's going to always come down to accountability, and that voice in your head, because you could still do, like, I could still do the same outreach as somebody else. But if my mindset is in a better place than theirs, just based on like how it works, like I'm going to do better. I'm going to have better conversations. I'm going to remember to follow up more, and things like that. So it's more likely to pay off. And it's just that constant battle with yourself internally. And I think, yeah, that one coach that we had for a little time there, she was amazing. I think she put it in a very good perspective of, it's just a story. So like catch yourself. Anytime you start feeling that way, stop, tell the story, chill out. It's not happening, that it's just something trying to protect you, but you're all good and you don't need it. But I do want to go back to the sales thing, because I know you asked me how I overcame the sales thing. And I think a big way that I've started wording it and that I put it in position is I've never liked sales. I've always been very put off by it. Now, that's not to say that I'm not good at it. I am actually relatively good at it. I was really close with the sales teacher in college, and me and her were great. I still worked with her outside of being in her class. But I never liked it. I felt uncomfortable. It made me feel queasy. It made my skin itch. It really wasn't something I wanted to do my whole life. I was like, I don't like the way this makes me feel. And it comes back down to, are you selling something you enjoy? Do you believe it? Do you value? Are you fully on board with this thing that you're selling? Because if you're on board with it and you fully believe in it and you want to put all your eggs in that basket, or you would, vouch for that product or vouch for that thing, sales is easy and it's authentic and it's truthful and it's genuine. And I'm sure you saw it on my LinkedIn. I also do hotel and venue sourcing. And that company, Gather Global, is a previous client of mine for social media marketing and stuff. I did content creation for them. I'm actually probably about to start working with them again. I don't know. I'm still work with her in a different capacity, but we did some social media marketing for a little bit, and she's like, "Hey, it's not the best business decision right now. Let me pause it." And I was like, "Okay, cool, no problem." But I loved what she did and what she stood for, and I saw so much value in what she was doing. I was like, "Hey, can I also work for you?" She's like, "Yeah, I'd love to have you on." And so now I have a separate sales type of role doing, it's not really sales, but it's kind of sales of hotel and venue sourcing, solely because I truly believe in it and I truly support it. So I think if you're not feeling it, if you're not really attached to it, sales is going to be hard. It's going to feel gross. It's going to feel icky. So that's another aspect too. You can keep doing it till you're blue in the face, but if you don't believe in it and you're not happy with it, your ideal client's not going to believe in it or be happy with it either. So,
wow, that's great.
yeah.
Think about the thought process is, because everyone's wired a little different. I like
Yeah.
that thought, but one of the thoughts I heard just recently is I tend to be a service-based person, so I believe in serving and giving the good to other people.
Same.
That to serve someone,
Mhm.
sales is service. So I can't serve you at the highest level unless I offer you something that can meet a need or desire that you have. So
Yeah.
I'm not selling you something you don't need. So if you're fit and in shape, I'm not selling you the Gutbuster 3000 for 10 easy payments of $49.99
Yeah.
when you don't need it. I'm selling you something that maybe takes
Some
inflammation on
athletic wear. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
takes inflammation on your body because you have nerve pain somewhere. I don't know. But the thing is
Yeah.
I'm not selling you. Look, I'm not. You have a brand new car. I'm not selling you a junker to purchase. Well, the thing is, I'm not selling you something you don't need. I'm selling you. You said you raised your hand. You said I have this need. I resonate with your content, and because that content resonates with me, I'm choosing to interact with you. And because I'm interacting with you, I'm raising my hand and saying I need some help in marketing or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And there's often that's always going to vary per industry too, right? So it's different with how people are coming across how they're finding you, whether they're coming to you, raising their hand, or you're finding them through cold outreach. And it's just important for time is money, right? Time is money. At the end of the day, it always is going to be. And I've learned this year when I've been planning out my schedule and my to-do list to meet my goals, there are not enough hours in the day. And I never thought I'd mean that so literally, but there are not. I have my days scripted out like to the minute. And that's not for everybody. So don't take don't feel like that's what you should be doing as a business owner, but you want to respect your time and you want to respect this potential person that you might work with, this prospect's time, right? So it's so important to vet them as best as you can. But however, always be networking. You always want to be networking. You always want to be kind no matter what. Even if someone's rude and says no to you, you always want to be kind with a response and genuine with them. Or if they're not a fit right now, if they are working for a tech company, but you only work with hospitals, okay, just be genuine and nice and just casually network with them because they could change a job in 5 years and you could still be like really good friends with them. And then now you're their go-to person. So,
or they could be doing tech inside hospitals in a couple months, and then you need
yeah,
them for some project.
exactly. You never know. And that's why, it's important to vet off the jump and make sure, like you're saying, you're not selling somebody something they don't need. Or being very open about it. Because like, at least for me in my experience, a lot of people know they need social media, but they're never, or social help with it, their social, they're never going to raise their hand. It's just never top priority for them. So whenever I'm reaching out, one of my main outreach messages, like, hey, if this is something you're interested in, you're looking into getting into, like, happy to chat, but I know time is money. So feel free to just let me know and I can send over a quick form and we can chat and see from there. But I'm going to leave it open-ended for them. I'm going to kind of draw attention to the fact that, like, hey, maybe you need help here as an expert. I think you do. But if you're not ready to make the time to commitment to even chat with me, then I'm not going to try and waste either of our time because it's not the right moment. It's not the right timing. So being able to really vet them is super duper important just for everybody's time's sake. And honestly, your mental emotional state where they're like, now, and then you're not like broken down and sad. You kind of left the door open already, closed already. Yeah.
That's- if I could, I'd like to transition since you're into social media and
Yeah.
marketing. I wanted to touch base on something. What do you think are the key things in 2025 that you could tell people that they can get into to help
Yeah.
while they're doing their own thing? What are the best
Mhm.
practices in marketing in 2025 with AI coming on more and more
Yeah.
and different things? What's some nuggets that you could give the people?
And I think these kind of don't just stand for 2025. These kind of just go in general. But when it comes to AI, feel free to use it for content ideas. Feel free to use it for writing your captions. That's awesome. But you still have to really read through it. Also, if you use like ChatGPT and you don't pay for ChatGPT, the captions that they generate for you, I will be able to tell they're ChatGPT written. They are not great at all. They're clearly written by a robot. The premium one's a little bit better, but you're going to always want to read through the captions and you want to make sure that the way that they're being written really emulates your brand and your brand voice. That you're not just copying and pasting because people like me can see if it is or can tell if it isn't. And then even if it's not people like me and it's just your regular old ideal audience, they're going to read that. It's not going to feel connected to them and it's not going to feel authentic to them. And that's not what we want. And then same for content idea planning. You really want to flush it out, make sure that the idea that they're giving you, that it's ChatGPT or your AI is giving you, is going to be representative or coincide with what you're trying to do as a business. So like, like a day in the life of might not work best for somebody who works in a factory. But I mean, it could. It's just you want to make sure that that's what's well aligned with the business and the business goals. So that's my thoughts on AI. I think it's a wonderful resource and a resource only, because as we continue going forward and tech keeps advancing, the more and more and more people are going to start craving this in person, the virtual, the one-on-one, that human connection, which you're not going to get with AI. Like AI can only do so much, right? And so that's why it's important to keep that humanity aspect of it and making sure that your content's going to connect with the right person by being human with what you're doing. And so I don't feel fearful at all that AI is going to replace my job, because the whole approach that I take with clients is this storytelling approach of who's your what, what's your why, and what, like, who, what, why, sorry, are the main three things, and really breaking those three things down so that we can be very intentional with every piece of content. And then the biggest piece of advice that I would give, again, regardless of the year, is be very intentional with what content is going out on what platforms. Each platform has a different type of purpose and goal to it, right? Like TikTok is meant to be very goofy, very lighthearted, very funny, very relatable. You're not posting like long form reality series on there. I mean, they do, but like that's not the overall point of the platform. Same with Facebook. Facebook is very your current community nurturing. And that's where you're going to post things that are more about like, hey, our upcoming event, rather than posting that type of content to TikTok. So different pieces of content, the way it's designed and formatted, need to go on different platforms. Now, there is some cases where you can cross promote across all of it. But if you're cross promoting all of it all around the board, some pieces are going to do better and some parts on some platforms, just because it's some of them aren't fit for that platform and that's not their purpose. So just being intentional with what you're creating for which platform. That's my other big piece of advice.
That's great. So Sarah, we went through your story, went through some your changes, and what would you say is the biggest character trait that you've been able to improve on or build up that has helped you become more successful in your entrepreneurial journey?
If I were to give it a trait, I would say probably my self-confidence. As in, like, I don't have to argue those little voices in my head as much anymore. I'm always going to, but I don't have to do it as much. But the thing I've probably grown the most on, that's not like a trait, would be boundaries. Really reading those red flags, really taking action on them and not letting them go too far, and learning from my mistakes. Like when it happens, to not let it happen again. Like having boundaries with myself and not allowing myself to be the people pleaser that I can be, and making sure that I can hold myself true to future Sarah, since past Sarah didn't learn her lesson and now knows. So, I mean, at this point, 2 years ago, I would not have been able to have fired a client, and I have fired many at this point, just because it's not a good fit. And also, in the same breath, you want to be respectful and you want to be professional and you want to be very relationship oriented, or at least I do. But there's those boundaries of self-respect within a degree. And I know everybody says that business isn't personal, but my goal in the business world is to make it personal. I'm trying to actually connect with people and actually have relationships and work with people for a long time. And I want to be best friends with my clients. Like I just signed one. I wish they lived closer, because we are essentially the same people and they're great and amazing. And it makes my job fun. It makes me love what I do. So people can say business isn't personal all they want, but I'm going to defy the odds and make it personal. So just really holding boundaries and ensuring you're respected and trusted and valued, really. So those are the things that I've grown the most on, is the boundaries and not having to tell myself those little stories of like, but like, you need the money. Are you sure you want to fire them? And it's like, no, like this isn't going to work. So things like that are the main pieces.
So how can people find you, Sarah?
Yeah. So the best place to probably find me is going to be on Instagram, just Sarah Lindsey Marketing. I have my link to my website, and that's where I'm going to post the most active stuff. And so if there's anything new coming out, I'll be posting about it on Instagram, and then the link in bio will take them to the website or wherever the link is going to go for what they need. So
Anything upcoming you want to share with the folks?
yeah, this year's a big year for me. I'm very, very excited for 2025. I spent a lot of time building out a strategic master plan, and I have something very fun that I'm coordinating and putting together. I'm kind of almost transitioning completely the business. I'm still going to keep doing what I do. I still want to work with clients on a one-on-one full service basis, because it's very fun work, but I have a lot of value to offer. And that's kind of my overall goal, is to just, like you were saying, just give. I really want to give the value and knowledge that I have, and I genuinely want to help. So I'm working on building out a membership type of subscription program that's a very affordable offer for any business owner. I don't want it to be just for people looking for social media. I want it to be for people who just need marketing help, or fellow small business women who have like a jewelry business on the side and they have no idea like how to grow their little tiny business on social media. I can help with that. But I also want to be a great additional resource for people who just don't understand like what they want to do with their marketing strategy and they just want to be joined in. It can be a jewelry business, it can be a farmer, it can be a tech company. I want it to be a very inclusive community that's just all about nurturing each other and providing consulting support when it comes to marketing and I guess self-growth really. That's the goal.
Wow.
That's what it's going to be. I haven't fully fleshed it out and I'm getting excited to launch it probably around March is what I'm aiming for. So, but that is around the corner. It's going to be a very affordable offer that's meant to just be like a great community of consulting and all the love and support and connection. So,
Wow. Well, my guest
yeah.
has been Sarah Lindsey. Sarah, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And ladies and gentlemen, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if this is YouTube. And if not, make sure you get the link to sign up for our weekly newsletter. And thank you so much. Remember, Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss.